Hey, and welcome back to another episode on the Gem Fitness Podcast. Today, I want to put you up on game, okay? And we're strictly going to just focus on all things movement and fitness and keep it very, very simple. So, I would suggest you grab a notepad or something to take notes with because I'm going to give you homework, obviously, but also some tangible steps that you can take from this episode. So if you are not able to do that right now, maybe save this podcast episode for later to tune back in and when you're able to take notes, okay? So with that being said, here's what I would do or focus on if I was kickstarting my health and fitness journey. Okay. Like I said earlier, we're only going to focus on all things movement, nothing else. Okay. If you want to know more about the nutrition aspect, the mindset aspect, sleep, stress, and all of that, stay tuned for future episodes because I am going to be diving into that as well. Okay. Before we even get started, okay, I just have to tell you this. This is not the time for you to be like, you know what? I used to do this. I used to do that. So I'm just going to pick up where I left off. No, pump the brakes, boo. I need you to not do that. Okay. This is where I need you to check your ego at the door. I don't care what you did a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We are not going to start from there. I'm more interested in talking directly to you right now, what you got going on right now, what you've been doing right now. Okay. Because that is where we're going to start from if you want this to be more of a sustainable approach. All right. If you're telling yourself, like, oh, I used to lift this much, I used to go to the gym this much, that's amazing. Okay. That's amazing. But I'm talking to you now. And you right now most likely have a very different lifestyle, very different lifestyle demands as well. And just maybe also even different priorities. Things might be looking so different from a year ago, let alone like 5 years ago. So, with that in mind, okay, just check your ego at the door. There's a time and place for all of that. This is not going to be it. All right. Also, you're going to probably run into this. So I'm going to address it ahead of time. When you're at the gym, when you're doing something, when you're out and about getting your workout in, getting your steps in, whatever have you, I want you to stop worrying about what everybody else is thinking about you or how you're looking because frankly, everybody else is so much more concerned and more focused on themselves to be worried about you. And honestly, this is going to come off a little with a certain way, but like ain't nobody worried about you like that. Like you're not that special. They don't care about you. And they're just so much more focused on themselves. So like obviously, please just do the same, just focus on you too. Okay. And I know with social media, like you often see a lot of people like getting ridiculed and doing this and that and the third. And like the chances of that happening is a lot less than you think. And so don't also let that hold you back from showing up for yourself. Okay. Now, if you happen to be struggling with like gym anxiety, that's a whole different thing. And if that is the case, I have a ton of resources that I can send you. So just message me on Instagram. Just let me know and then we can chat and I can send it over to you. Okay. Not a problem. So with that being said, just a reminder, check your ego at the door. You're going to hear these freaking tips and advice and strategies and be like, oh, it's too simple. Like it's too simple. Yeah, it's too simple because it's supposed to be so simple that it works. You're going to be thinking like, oh, this is too simple to work. As opposed to what? Some complicated shit that you've tried in the past that didn't work? It's like, that's the whole point. It needs to be simple. So simple that you actually can do it even in your worst days. Even when there's 10 million excuses that comes up. You should be able to do it even if you're stressed. So don't underestimate the simple things that you can do to build habits around your movement. Okay. With that being said, let's get straight into it. All right. First things first, and this is going to be the three things I'm going to mention is going to be your non-negotiable. Here's what I would focus on. Here is where I'm going to put most of my energy towards if I was kickstarting my fitness journey. First things first, establish a habit of getting your daily steps in. Okay. Now I'm not asking you to hit 10K a day. What I am asking you is take a look at your health app, take a look at your watch, whatever gadgets you have, whether it's your Apple Watch, your Garmin watch, your health app on your iPhone or your Whoop, whatever tends to track your steps. Take a look at that and see what your average has been the past week, the past month, the past 3 months, the past 6, the past year. What does the average look like for you? And especially the most recent ones, we want to go off of that. So based off of that, let's say you're averaging 5K steps. I know you're going to be tempted to go, okay, let me double up. You can, but maybe we should barely dial it back a little bit and just start by upping it 500 a week, okay? Or 1,000 a week. something, okay? Instead of 5K right off the bat, maybe just do 500 a week, 500 a day, whatever you can tolerate, because you want to build consistency by making it doable and realistic for you. Okay. All right. Now, I will say that just because you have like a set target, let's say, for example, you're starting at 5K and you're like, all right, this week I'm just going to hit 5,500, or this week I'm just going to hit 6K. If you get more than that, then freaking amazing. Hey, like, but if you hit it just on the mark, then that gets to be good enough, because that was you hitting the mark. You set it a target, you hit the target. Cool. If you go beyond that, amazing. If you were shy a couple steps, figure out how you're going to make sure and ensure that the next day you actually hit the target, or a little bit more than that, or a little bit past that. Okay. All right. Amazing. The second thing I would focus on is actually start lifting. Okay. Hit the gym. I really don't care if you are going to do CrossFit or going to become a gym rat or a power lifter. Do something that's resistance based, okay, or has some type of resistance training, because yes, cardio is very important. It has its time and place because it serves a different purpose than just being able to lift. But if you're tuning into this podcast, chances are you're a body recomp girly. Like, you have goals to look like fit and toned and strong, not just skinny and frail and whatever, right? Like being thin for thin's sake, like for purely aesthetic. You actually want to be able to be more functional, more strong, and be able to do things. And so with that being said, instead of just trying to be like, oh, I'm just going to do cardio, make your steps your cardio, okay? And pick something that has resistance training. Even if you practice yoga or you're a yogi, yoga studios, there's actually like weights involved with yoga too. I think they usually call it like yoga sculpt. So there's still some essence of resistance training in those situations. Same thing with Pilates as well. So I don't need you to try to box yourself in a camp. I just need you to pick what you're already familiar with and what you know you're going to have fun with. I will say, because there's so much options out there, me being biased as hell and understanding the benefits of strength training, I'm going to tell you to prioritize strength training. Just prioritize some type of resistance training. Pick up the weights, babe. Okay? Pick up the weights. Lift some weights, especially if you want to look fit and tone. Strength training is going to be your bestie boo. And again, just to also warn you, this is not the time to try anything new. Okay. I'm all about having fun, doing things that you enjoy, but chances are you used to do something that you enjoyed and it made sense for you, and you just haven't been able to do it consistently. So just pick that up instead. Like, if you were already hitting the gym and you're familiar with that, let's start with that, versus like, oh, I'm going to start this whole new thing. Not when you're kickstarting a fitness journey. Don't throw a whole nother thing on there. I mean, you can, honestly, you're the captain of your own life. I'm just here giving you an advice, but you don't have to listen to what I have to say. Like, if you want to do something completely different than what you've ever done while you're kickstarting your journey, by all means, go do you. Like, my goal is to just help you move a lot more. So there's that. We are just trying to establish a habit of moving more through our daily steps, making sure we have resistance training. And lastly, we're going to integrate more of a physical activity on our weekends. And so, like I said earlier, first take a look at like, okay, how am I actually spending my weekend? Do I typically just party? Do I typically just stay at home and just like completely bum it out? Or do I typically go for like, drinks and eat all day with my friends, brunch with the girls? Like, is it surrounded with food and drinks all the time and partying? And like, just get a sense of like how you're spending your time and how that lands for you as well. Like, a lot of you will look at how you spend your weekend and think, yeah, there's perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it. I love it. Some of you already know that some things can definitely improve and change. And if you are in that bucket, this is going to be the thing that I want you to focus on, is that be a little bit more intentional with how you spend your weekend. Meaning, some of you listening to this have said to yourself and convinced yourself that Monday to Friday is so busy that like the only day that makes sense for me to be active, do the things, is the weekend. But then come the weekend, you're so tired and gassed from the week that you do nothing for yourself that you said you were going to do, mainly around workouts, for example. Like, you don't prioritize what you said you didn't have time for during the week. Like, you have all the time now and look how you're spending it. And that is not to shame you. That is just to help you see it. Like, I'm just holding a mirror to your habits and how you're spending your time, all in the hopes that you would take that information and do something with it that is more aligned with what you want out of your life and what you want as far as your goals. Okay. So let's say, for example, let's just like you're constantly partying, you're just eating out like crazy, you're not really moving. Then I would just invite you to potentially look at those things that you're doing and make it better. Maybe it's a walk and talk with a friend. Maybe you get grab coffee and sip it while you're strolling. Maybe you go for a hike with your family before you start the rest of the day. Like just something that you can do that is a little bit more on the physical activity side versus just purely being surrounded around food, drinks, and whatever else. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think there's a beautiful way of balancing that and have more flexibility with that. But also, that also gives you an opportunity to squeeze in some of the things that, like movement, pretty much squeeze it into your weekend that helps you feel your absolute best, because you know all the stuff that you've done in the past. For example, if it was like partying or if it's like eating and drinking, brunching, whatever, it always leaves you feeling like crap and just kind of not your best self by Sunday, Monday. You know what I mean? And the best way you can approach that is not by cutting out any of your social life, like not cutting out alcohol completely, unless you want to, obviously, but like not cutting it out, but just asking yourself, how can I spend my weekend more intentional? How can I move more on the weekend? Like, what is the thing that I can do that is like easy as hell for me? Like, whether that's just getting a step with your partner or going for a hike, a stroll, like, things like that. Like, it doesn't even need to be anything crazy. It could literally be as simple as getting your steps in. And with that too, while you're doing that, that also helps you with the first thing I talked about, which is increasing your steps, your daily steps. All of it will help you out. So those are the things I would focus on. Get in the habit of having a daily step. Okay. 2, strength training, resistance training, lift. Okay. Pick what you're already used to, pick what you're already familiar with, and create consistency. Then you can venture out and do other things. All right. Keep it so easy and so simple for yourself that it's just like hard not to be consistent, hard to fall off. Okay. And lastly, spend your weekend a lot more intentionally by incorporating physical activities into your social life or your weekend lifestyle. Okay, amazing. Next, what we're going to talk about is what not to do. I know in the beginning of this episode, I already alluded to these things, but I'm just going to reiterate it because it is so important, because these are the common mistakes that I see people make that completely sabotage their entire consistency and progress when it comes to building momentum, when it comes to their movement. Okay. First things first, like I said, okay, do not try to pick up where you left off. If that was over a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or even like over 6 months ago. Okay. Start from where you're at. It is okay. Like I said, check your ego at the door. This is not going to bet your ego. I really don't care how many times you were working out before, how many hours you spent at the gym. I really don't care like how much you used to lift. That's all amazing. But clearly you stop, and you stop because there was a reason. And I don't want to get into what that reason is right now. But what we can do is figure out, where are you starting from now? Where is your step count coming from? Like, where is your current step count average at? How often are you actually lifting? How much time do you actually have to dedicate to this to be consistent enough? And also, like, how are you already currently spending your free time, like your weekends and whatnot? I think it's also worth noting that, like, picking up where you left off, the biggest issue with that is that at worst, you're going to put yourself at risk for injury. How is that going to help you with your movement goals if you're injured? It won't. Okay. If you're watching this, like, look at my face. It won't. Okay. And also, what people don't notice is that when you go hard in the paint and you try to pick up where you left off, try to do the weights that you used to do, work out 5 times a week because you were able to do it then, why not now? Like, okay, you go in, you go hard, you're excited, you're full of motivation, and then you're sore as shit for multiple days, to a point that instead of actually going to the gym when you had planned to, when you booked it into your calendar, you skip it because, oh, I'm too sore. I went too hard. I'm too sore. Now you can't even get your steps in because, oh, I'm too sore. That is not it. Unless you're one of those people, because I've had clients like that where they love the feeling of soreness, like it motivates them more. By all means, if that's you, okay, cool. You better be able to maintain the consistency and stick to the plan if you think you're going to just pick up where you left off and go hard in the paint right off the jump. Trade offs. You do that, you better deal with the consequences. That's all I'm saying. So I bring that up because I have such different levels of clients that I deal with. Some are like, amazing. Like, I'll start from where I'm at right now. I want to be a little bit more intentional with how I spend my time. Like, I don't want to do that. I've done that already. So, like, learn my lesson. I'm not trying to do X, Y, and Z. Then I have other ones that are super competitive. Like, hell no, challenge accepted. Like, I'm going to go hard. I don't care. The slower I am, the harder this means I worked hard enough. I'm like, whatever, man. Like I said, like in coaching, there is just so many different characters that you come across. And so whatever side you fall into, or if you're in between, you know yourself well enough. So do what helps you the most. Okay. I'm just giving you advice. I don't know you like that. Okay. This is all just, this is like take my advice with a grain of salt, but I will say, keep that in mind when what I mentioned just now. The next thing I want you not to worry about is optimizing. Girl, you ain't been working out consistent enough. I don't need you to optimize nothing. I don't want you to worry about the perfect workout, the perfect split. Quite frankly, that should be your last concern. You don't need to worry about nothing. You don't need to worry about optimizing. You don't need to worry about none of that because you're not even working out consistently. You're not even working out as often as you want. You need to just worry about building the habit of showing up and doing your workout and moving more. That is all it. We are just trying to get you to move more. That is it. Once you start to do that consistently and it feels a little bit more effortlessly, not to say that it's going to ever be 100% effortless, then you can start to look at, well, how do I optimize this? Okay. Build your foundation first and then stack on top of that. All right. And this also goes back to like when I talked about like picking what type of exercise you're going to do or but like, if it's going to be yoga, CrossFit, strength training, powerlifting, whatever else in between, instead of trying to like do everything and trying all of that, which I love, by the way. Like, I appreciate people who are approaching their fitness with that level of like fun and doing things that they enjoy, because if you ask me like what's the best way for me to stick to things, like finding something that you actually enjoy and love to do. So if you hate this form of working out, don't force yourself to do it. Truly, just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean you have to. So with that being said, though, there is this thing that you can find yourself getting caught up on, is that's chasing the shiny object, meaning you bounce around from like trying a Pilates class, trying Legree, trying like yoga, trying this, trying that, like all kinds of different things. And at some point you have to follow a structured strength training program or some type of program that is structured and has progressive overload, because for the goals that you have for especially body recomp, you can't just do random things all the time. Like, you have to have a solid program that is made to help you develop those muscles that you want to make you look like that snatch baddie. All right. So like I said, don't worry about optimizing. Okay. Just have your fun, start with what you already know and go from there. And I know I sound like a broken record. I've said that like 10 million times already, but sometimes I feel like it's worth reminding people 10 million times, because it's easy to fall in our default thinking and default approach when it comes to fitness. And we can get so excited that we want to do all these things, but we have to keep our head focused on the big picture of what we're trying to accomplish here, which is just creating a movement routine or building a habit to move more. Okay. Oh, and I know you're going to ask me, what's the best workout? What's the perfect split? The simple and straight cut answer I have for you is that the best workout and the best split is the one that you can actually stick to. And some of you don't want to hear that because you're like, God dang it, just tell me and I'll do it. Like, if you give me a plan, I'll stick to it. I was like, you've had 10 million plans before and you weren't able to stick to them. So why would you want that from me? Like, I'm not going to sit here and continue to give you the same shit you've been given all these years that has never worked. So with that being said, the best workout plan or the best workout split is the one that you can actually stick to. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to stick with that for years, because once you build consistency, and this is why it's so important, you get to then start to build up on it and maybe do more than what you prefer right now. Okay. So it's not this is it. Like, if I'm only able to do 2 times a week. Like you're not locked in on that. Once you've proven to yourself that you can actually be consistent and you're seeing results by being that consistent and you're doing it, and no matter what happens, you're sticking to the plan or whatever, you're able to be consistent with that, then you can introduce maybe another day. Maybe you can introduce a longer workout. I recommend adding an additional day versus extending the workout long, because the thing is like I'd rather you be more active throughout the week than just a couple of days. Okay. So if you're right now working out 2 times a week and you're like, oh, like, you know what? I'm ready for more. So I'm going to extend my workout to do like an hour and a half or whatever. Now that's cool and shit. But like the problem with that is that when people have such a big workout day or workout chunk or workout block in their schedule, they tend to be less active throughout the day because they're like, oh, well, I worked out really, really hard to push myself. And then they just become couch potato and just sit and have a sedentary life the rest of the day. We don't want that. I would rather you do 1 hour 3 times a week or 45 minutes 3 times a week and still be able to maintain your daily steps. Okay. So if you were wondering, like, what's the best exercise? What's the best workout split? The one that you can actually stick to. And you need to prove yourself before you start to add more to your plate and to your plan. Earn the right to complicate your fitness plan. That's it. Okay. So with that, the last thing I want you to note is that this whole thing about giving yourself grace, because I'm all about giving yourself grace, but I want you to understand that giving yourself grace does not mean that you get to skip the workout when you're exhausted, when you're stressed the hell out, when you didn't get to do it how you planned it, or life is just lifing. I need you to check yourself with this, because a lot of people is like, oh, but I'm giving myself grace. I'm giving myself grace. And they are saying that every day of the week. And it's almost like, okay, well, that's a pattern. Like you're always giving yourself grace. And there shouldn't be an issue with that, right? But if giving yourself grace means that you're gonna use it as an excuse to skip the workout or skip the thing that you told yourself you committed to and that was important to you or your priorities, like we have to have a conversation about that, because that is not right. Because for me, it's like when my clients are saying I'm giving myself grace, it means that if they weren't able to do the 1 hour workout, they weren't able to do the 45-minute workout, this still did something. So how I break this down for a lot of my clients when we do our weekly planning and our weekly check-in, there's the ideal perfect week or perfect day that we want for ourselves. And then there's the rolling with the punches. Like things are not necessarily perfect right now, but it's also not like the worst. But this is what I'm going to commit to when I'm rolling with the punches. So if I can't do my typical 3 times a week for 45 minutes, I'm going to do 3 times a week for 30 minutes or whatever the hell, right? Whatever that makes sense. And like the last one is like all hell broke loose. Okay. Shit hit the fan. This is like my bare ass minimum that I'm going to commit to. What is that going to look like? For some people, that literally is maybe 30 minutes of 15-minute workout. Maybe it's going for a walk around the block. Like you have to find what that level one thing is for you. Because if your ideal week is you being able to do what I prefer, which is like going for a full workout, going this many times a week, on your worst freaking day, if that's not doable for you, do what your bare minimum is going to be like. And it's really helpful for you to outline what this is prior. Do not try to figure this out as it's happening, okay? Because that is one of the easiest way to fall in this trap of like, give myself grace, I'm going to skip. Now, I need you to also note, this is where people get kind of like, oh, what the heck? There's moments where you do have to give yourself grace and skip. And you're like, what the hell, girl? That's too much. How the hell am I going to know, coach? It's just more of like, here's the thing. Sometimes you could be very low capacity, very much stressed the hell out, under sleeping, under eating, like things are just not going well. And you're like, have to do this workout. Sometimes it might be a great place to just maybe skip or reschedule it. But this is always a but here. But I would actually invite you to do just like 10 to 15 minutes of something. Like, let's say, gosh, like today, I think it's best for me to skip. I'm going to give myself grace to skip. But before you do that, just give yourself the permission and just go for like a 5 to 10 minute. Just start with 5 to 10 minutes, 15 if you even feel like that's something that you have. Because for a lot of my clients too, like the things that they're the workout, for example, and the movement practice that they have, this is the only time that they have for themselves. And so Yeah, sometimes if I say, oh, I just do for 5 minutes, they're like, 10, 15. Like I need to give myself at least fit 10 to 15. And that looks different for every person, but you have to find what works for you. So for example, if you're like, I need to give myself grace, like I think today's one of those days that I just need to skip or reschedule this. And before you say yes and fully commit to like, you know what, yeah, I'm just gonna skip today, just go for like a 5, 10, 15 minute walk or 15-minute warm up or something, do some stretches, like things like that. And if you feel good and you want to keep going, perfect, keep it going, keep going all the way through if you want to. However, if you do like 5, 10 minutes or even like 15 and you're just like still not feeling it, just is not it for me today, give yourself the permission to skip. Because at that point, you can at least say that you tried. And for me, for my clients, I am just so always proud of them for what they were actually putting effort towards. Like, you know what? You actually tried. Like, you could have easily just been like, you know what? Forget it. Today's not the day. I'm not the one. However, they're like, but you know what? I can at least go for a little 10-minute walk. So I'm gonna just start with that. Or you know what? I'm gonna do my little warm up. And if I'm feeling good, I'll go. If not, then you know what? I at least did my warm up today, or at least did my mobility stuff. Amazing. For me, that is such key characteristics that I look for in my clients that I always make sure I clap it up for, because you don't even realize how much of an impact that makes to sit here and like have every reason to just like, I'll just skip because I got excuses today. I got real reasons to skip, but still trying to do something rather than nothing. Such a beautiful thing. And that can also be you, I promise you. And if you do the things that I mentioned today on this episode, you're going to be so thankful. And when you look back, even a year from now, you'll be so shocked at how you navigate and manage life when it comes to movement and having a movement practice. So, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to have some homework. So first things first, I need you to bust out your health app. I need you to bust out your watch or whatever apps that tracks your step and take a look at how much step you get on a daily basis on average. Okay? Just take a look at those numbers and use it to make an informed decision as far as what you're going to set your target towards. And I know if you get excited and you're like, I want to do 10K steps, go for it if you want to. Okay. But ideally, I recommend maybe bumping it up 500 to 1,000 a week if that feels doable, and just find a sweet spot for yourself that like, you know what, I actually do better and feel best when I have 15K steps. Amazing. Oh, actually 10K is so solid for me. It's also a challenge, but I can actually get it done. Amazing. Do that. If that's how you also feel at 7K steps, amazing. Anything that is better than your current average is always going to be a win. Okay. A win is a win is a win. Okay. First, that's your homework. Audit that thing. Okay. With that too, if you're working out on and off, go take a look at how often you're working out. On average, how many days is that? Because if you think you're working out 3 to 4 times a week, but you're actually averaging 1 to 2 times a week, that's going to be your starting point. Okay. No shame in that. We all start somewhere. It doesn't mean you're always going to stay there. Okay. So be patient with yourself, be kind with yourself, okay? Because beating yourself up for the fact that where you fell short or whatever is not going to make a difference. You've done that already for so many years. And if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. But here you are tuning into this podcast because you're trying to kickstart your journey again because you haven't been consistent at doing it. You don't lack discipline. You don't lack willpower. You don't lack motivation. This is a direction thing, okay? So I'm trying to give you the game plan. All right. All right. Next thing, open up your calendar, book them workouts in, book where you're going to steps. Because I mean, I just saying, I'm going to increase my steps. Tell me how. Map it out for me when you're going to do that. So for me, when I pushed myself to go for 10K steps because of whatever, I was like, all right, I'm gonna walk with my dog in the morning, and I usually only get 1,000 steps on that one. I'm gonna bump it up to 2,000 because that's just an additional couple minutes for me, and that's doable, and we both are gonna have fun with that. Then I was like, but you know what, I also walk in the evening with my dog and my husband, so you know what, we're just gonna make sure that that's the walk that we make sure we hit the target. If not, then I gotta get out the house after and get more steps, okay? Because my dog is old, he can't really go for too long before he gets tired. Okay. He does his best to keep up, but I just want to be cognizant of that too. And so my biggest opportunity that where I have to flex my muscle the most, like really push myself, is my midday walk. So where I can do that is like go to the gym, get my extra steps, or you know what, honestly, I would just be multitasking and going on calls while I'm on a walk outside. It's also a beautiful way for me to soak up some sun, which is beautiful. Changes my mood every single time I'm out for a walk. So Okay. That's my example. You figure out what that is for you, whether that's taking the stairs, whether that's, going with a friend during your lunch work or something. Find ways. I think the best way that you can approach this is asking yourself, well, how can I increase my steps? Where in my day can I schedule in blocks of time for me to get extra steps in a day so that I can hit my target? Okay. Perfect. That's one. Book your steps in, book your workouts in. Okay. And don't just call it, oh, workout or gym. Call it something like, sticking to my commitment. This is my integrity check or whatever the heck you want to call it. Something that triggers you to be like, you know what? I'm not going to skip that. Because sometimes, like, you can book things into your plan and you still going to ignore the hell out of it. But that is a different conversation, to be honest. Like, if you're going to plug it into if you're going to go through the trouble of finding time in your calendar just for you to ignore it when it's time for you to get it done, that's a whole different conversation, babe. But yeah, schedule it in and respect the time that you set aside for yourself and get it done. And like I said in previous episodes before, you have to operate as the future you who already has the goals that you have. And that person is most likely not scheduling things on their calendar, like their workouts, their daily steps, and all of this stuff, just for them to ignore it and completely go, nah, I don't feel like it. No, that's you know damn well. Next, another thing that I think is going to be so beneficial for you at any stage of your fitness journey is what I already mentioned earlier, which is like having a backup plan. And the best way that you can approach this is what I talked about earlier. Like, this is going to be your perfect ideal week. This is what you do on that ideal week. And then there's like the rolling with the punches. Things are not necessarily perfect and things are not necessarily like chaotic as hell. So you focus on that, whatever that hell that looks like. And then have one that's like your bare minimum. Like, if this is life is lifing, this is the least, this is the most I can commit to. And that's just being realistic. You don't want to always just plan for the best possible, best case scenario. Like, that is not a plan. Okay. That is a plan set to fail. Like, because you also like, and I'm just going to tell you straight up, my clients and I spend more time and factoring in what the hell we're going to do if shit didn't work out the way that we planned it to. We can't anticipate everything, but we can anticipate a majority of the things and most of the things. And when it does happen, they are not trying to figure it out right then and there. They already have a set plan. We've already established it. Less friction, less issue, less thinking, less whatever. So with that being said, have 3 levels of things that you can think about, right? Ideal, rolling with the punches, and then bare minimum. Okay. Amazing. This is where I was talking about earlier with the grace. Before you give yourself grace and just skip, maybe you go drop down to the rolling with the punches and do what you can handle on that week for that week. Okay. All right. If you're like, wait, what was it that you said? Just listen to the podcast episode again and take some notes. Okay. If you're also more of a visual learner, I potentially might have something for you already. So just hit me up and let me know. And I can send it over to you. Okay. So yeah, that's going to be your homework. Ideally, write this down, create one for yourself. Okay. And you should be golden. So just to reiterate, your homework is going to be audit your steps and your activity level, like what you're already currently doing. And then take a look at your calendar, plug in what your new goal is and how often you want to work out, when you're going to get your steps in, how much steps you want to do. Okay. Have that plugged into your calendar. Make that a non-negotiable for you to follow through. Okay. And lastly, somewhere your notes app or somewhere written, something that you can refer to via your phone would be the most helpful. But make a list of what your ideal perfect best case scenario week looks like as far as like step count and how often you're working out and for how long, so duration, frequency, and all of that. And then do one for more of like rolling with the punches. Okay. What does that week look like? If you're just rolling with the punches this week, what does that get to look like? Do that, map that out for yourself. All will look different for each person, to be honest. So find one that makes the most sense for you. And this can change too with more information and things that you learn about yourself throughout the process as you're going into this. And lastly, hits the fan. What are going to be your bare minimum? And these are the ones that people are like, oh, so it's too too simple, too little, too easy. But that is the point. When you're under breakdown and life is super stressful, it needs to be easy enough that you can do it even then. That is a secret to consistency, by the way, that no one talks about. Everybody wants it the hard way, but it's like you don't get a badge of honor for doing it and playing life on hard mode. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. So those are going to be your 3 homeworks, okay? And if you want, for accountability's sake, if you want to send this over to me, like your whole thing over on Instagram, I would love that. That would be so freaking amazing. And yeah, take advantage of it. It's a way for you to get accountability. So there's that. And the last thing I just want to leave you with, okay? Because we know that the intention of this episode is to build a habit of moving more and just having a movement practice that serves you and your goals. If you're listening to this podcast, you know that we're all just trying to build our confidence, right? Build our body confidence, build our confidence in general. And I promise you, confidence isn't about purely just aesthetic and being lean or fit or strong. That is not where confidence comes from solely. It comes from you keeping the promises that you make to yourself. So as you're obviously listening to this, you've already committed to doing something and kickstarting your health and fitness journey. And with that, you will be tested and you're going to have to rely on your discipline. You're going to have to rely on X, Y, and Z, and all of that is fine. But just know that if you want to build your confidence, it starts with you honoring the commitments that you made to yourself and keeping the promises that you made to yourself, because you might forget along the way as you're putting in the work, but this was important to you. You said it was important to you, so honor it. And you are someone who can make this happen. I don't want to hear all this BS things this negative self-talk about you just are not cut out for it, you just can't make it happen, this is just not for you, whatever the hell. I want you to challenge yourself, because why not you? You know people who have probably more chaotic, stressful life, busier, with less resources, and they are somehow making it work. And not to compare anything, but why not you? You can definitely do it. Trust and believe. And if you are curious about okay, how do I approach nutrition? How do I approach the mindset pieces of it? All these other things, keep tuning in, because the next episodes are going to be so juicy for that. And you're going to absolutely love it. So I hope you already made a note to do the homework. Okay. And if there's anything else that landed for you during this episode, I would love to hear it. Leave it in the comment section, or you can hit me up on IG and we can go from there. Thank you again for tuning in and listening to me yap and all this stuff. Catch you in the next one. Bye.